Today I'll show you the materials that I use for watercolor and some tips and advice that you might have to consider when using them. Let's begin talking about papers. First one will be a mixed media paper that is more affordable, then cotton paper hot pressed, and then cotton paper but cold pressed. I'm going to show you the difference between these two. The cotton is better paper than the average used for mixed media. It has a smooth texture, as you can see, barely you can see texture, similar to the mixed media as well. So this is very good if you want to use also pencils on the top of the watercolor without showing the grain of the pencils. And the cotton cold press has the most texture and it also absorbs more water, so it's going to allow you to do more layers of watercolor. Then I have this little watercolor set of tablets from Winsor & Newton that I use when I travel or I paint outside. And this is the one that I use in my studio, which is bigger, and it's also from Winsor & Newton, and I have a very wide range. I would say this is like a middle in terms of quality, so they're affordable but still good enough for final illustrations or paintings. I have some watercolor in tubes as well. I put some of my palette to test with you today some qualities, but I don't use them very often. And finally, I use this liquid watercolor from Ecoline brand, and they behave more like inks, and I'll show you what I mean. And considering masking fluid, this is the one that I use from Winsor & Newton too. For brushes, I usually buy this brand because I don't like to go very cheap with them, and the shape of the hair allows me to do a lot of different things in illustrations. Now I'm going to show you their qualities in terms of absorption of the paper and ability to erase them somehow if you need to take out a bit of paint because you're clearing some areas or because you made a mistake, which is something very important to consider when you're choosing both watercolors and also the kind of paper that you're using. So I'm just put a bit of Ecoline liquid here on my cotton one. Now I'm gonna do it on my mixed media paper, and I'm gonna show you the differences on how it looks, how it absorbs, and also how you can take out some of it. And this one is the cold press, which is more textured. As you can tell, hopefully well enough in the video, the colors differ slightly as well depending on the papers, but also the kind of brush strokes and the shape of the stain, because it depends on the absorption of the paper how the outline of that shape is going to look like as well. Now I'll show you how this liquid watercolor behaves when we're trying to erase it and take parts from the watercolor that we just applied immediately when it's still wet. I'm applying clean water and I'm trying to clear it up, but as you can see, it stains a lot on the paper. This one is the cotton hot press, and it's not going anywhere. This one is the mixed media, and as you can see, it's gonna clear better, and one of the reasons is because the absorption of this paper is less than the cotton. So the watercolor stays more like in the surface, and then you can erase it a bit better than the hot press cotton paper. Now let's do the same experiment, but in the cotton paper cold press, which has more texture. As you can see, the stain is not going anywhere, so I barely can erase this liquid watercolor. And the reason why is because this one that is cold press is way more absorbent than the others, so the paint gets inside the paper way quicker, so you cannot erase it as easily. This is how the three of them look like together for you to see the differences. And conclusions to take in consideration is mixed media paper is the best option to use in case you need to erase this liquid watercolor in your paintings because the rest absorb it too much. And this liquid watercolor behaves a lot like inks in that regard, like you cannot really take them out. Now I'm gonna do the same experiment with a tablet, similar color, but now watercolor on the tablet, which you're gonna see the difference in the way you can take out the paint and how it behaves. Let's do first the mixed media paper. Now we're gonna go for the cotton hot press, which has less texture than the next one, which is the cold pressed. I'm just cleaning my brush now and taking a lot of water so I can try to erase this first one, which is the mixed media. And as you can see, it's very easy to erase. Remember that this mixed media paper absorbs the less, and the paint stays very superficial. So in this one as well, in the tablet watercolor, it's very easy to erase and correct parts, take them out with just water, like it happened before with the liquid, though this one is way cleaner. you can clean it much better than the liquid watercolor. And you can see here that also in the cotton hot press you can also take it out quite easily while the paint is still wet, of course. The more wet it is, the quicker you can take parts out and erase them. So this tablet watercolor is the best one to erase. The cold press, you're seeing as well that is much easier than the other liquid watercolor to erase. You can take it out, and with this paper, because it's more absorbent than the other cotton as well, it's going to allow you to do more cleaning with just clean water. You can even rub the brush a bit more consistently against the paper with the clean water, and it's not gonna go anywhere, like it's not gonna peel or anything. See the difference? So yeah, definitely if you need to erase, use the tablet ones, not liquid. Finally, let's do this experiment now with the tube watercolors. So you're gonna see as well how differently they behave to the other ones, and depends on the paper as well. This time I chose a black color so you can see even better. And let's begin with the mixed media paper. Now let's go for the hot press cotton paper, and finally let's go for the cold press. Just try to erase first with water the hot pressed cotton paper, and as you can see at the moment it's not very easy. I'm gonna put a bit more pressure. Although this paper doesn't allow you too much rubbing on it, it peels quite easily, much easier than the cold press one, so be careful. Let's go now for the mixed media, and as you can see straight away it cleans easier than the cotton paper, again because it stays superficial. It does not absorb that much water, so you can add water to try to clean it even more, but it's gonna bend way more than the other papers. And let's check now the cold pressed cotton paper, and as you can see I'm just cleaning more my brush. It erases quite well as well. You can apply it way more water than the other two papers, so you can try to clean it as much as possible. So summarizing conclusions for this cold press: when you're using the tube, it still erases pretty well. When using the hot pressed cotton paper, the three of them are not as easy to clean up, though the best one to clean up is the tablets. And for the mixed media paper, they erase better than on the hot pressed cotton paper, but look how much the paper bends, and see the back. Here you can see the difference absorption and also the kind of thickness of the paper. This is the best one because it absorbs a lot of water and it doesn't barely bend, and you erase well. And this one doesn't bend as much, but still is not as erasable on that paper as the cold press, more textured one. When choosing watercolors, if you want to be safe and erase easily, it's better to choose tablet watercolors. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions about all these materials, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.